Alright, this time at the Quick Speed Shop, I'm back working on the Dodge Magnum for my Dodge truck project. And I've converted it to LA. It's painted. If you want to go back and watch some of the other videos, I'll show you all the steps I did to that. Today, I want to continue working on it. Try to get the intake glued on. Oh, there's a rag in there. Hold on. Anyways, take that out. We're going to do some engine stuff. Bam, we're going to start right now. What I want to do today is put on the damper. I've got a new electronic ignition. I actually pulled this out of the junkyard. Somebody had swapped in a new distributor, Proform distributor, new plug wires, and everything. I got the connectors for it. It's got a new coil. So I'm going to drop this LA style distributor. Will drop right in place of the Magnum distributor, and then we'll be able to run the orange box ignition on this thing, the little magic box. Got to do some other things. I want to put stainless steel bolts in the intake, and I don't have any. And I started this late. The hardware store is closed, so I can't do that right now. But let's start off. We'll put the damper on, and that'll allow me to crank it over to top dead center and put the distributor in. One of the first things I want to do is put the dipstick back in the engine, and then I can pour some oil in it. So Mopar doesn't have a good way to prime the oil pump because the oil pump gear meshes with the cam. It's not like a Chevy where you can just spin it with a tool. So I don't have any way to prime the oil pressure until you put everything together. Well, actually I can put oil in and crank it over now, and it would build oil pressure, but I definitely want to put the dipstick in it. And what happened, this Magnum's got a super long dipstick that sticks way up. It's got a modern style pole on it. I don't want to do that, and I've pulled a Mopar dipstick out of the 360 I just took out of the parts truck. And what I want to do is I hold these up here. I wanted to look on the sticks, see if the add and full marks are the same. The Magnum one's on the bottom and the original Dodge, the older Dodge LA, is on the top. If I put the sticks here, both the full marks line up. The add marks are different. It's because the older one goes straight down in the pan and the newer one goes through a chute in there, but it should be alright as long as the full marks are the same. So I line these up here. I'm going to go and I'm going to cut the tube right here where the dipstick, the old style dipstick lines up. And it is the correct diameter to sit right in this tube. You can see this one, the Magnum one's got a little O-ring and they swedge the tube out. Well, this diameter is the right diameter to fit the smaller part of the tube. So what I can do is just lop it off, mark this with the sticks being the same length, and lop this off down here, and it will mount the dipstick tube right down where it was originally in the front of the engine. I can use the old style of dipstick. So I'll just take a little tubing cutter and I'll cut this, tap it down in the block, and then I'll have the old LA style dipstick in the Magnum motor. Got a little brake line cutter here. I marked it. I'll just run the brake line cutter right around. Should cut this tube no problem. Just like that, cut it right off. Now we got a shorter tube that will go right down in here, and it will be at the correct height for the old school action. Uh-oh. Get in there. Why is it so tight? I should have tried this. Might only go one way in this pan. Come on now. What in the world? We should have the same end on them. Well, the end on the old one might be... Oh, that's the... Oh no! I think my aftermarket pan is boning me. Why won't that go in there? Are you serious? My replacement oil pan is screwing me here. It's got a like a tube down the side that the dipstick goes into, and it appears to be not lining up correctly. Are you serious? The oil pan's got this slot that the dipstick goes in, and it's hitting here. I don't know if it's not the right location or what. It's probably fighting with that setup right there to get in there. Hopefully I can ramrod it and get it to go. Maybe it's just tight for the initial action. I don't know. Come on. It's ridiculous. I really didn't want to do this. I tried tapping an 1/8 inch rod down the hole to see if I could get the pan. You know, maybe it just had wasn't quite formed right, and I tried to knock it into place. Luckily, it's got this replaceable gasket, or Felpro gasket. I don't see a lot of issue here, but you can see where I see this mark where I beat that rod down in there, and it looks like the dipstick is hitting. Geez, you think it would go down in there. I think it's hitting right here on this edge. Man, it's just so freaking tight all the way down. This piece is so tight, the dipstick has a hard time going around it. You can't get in there and make the bends. I took the Magnum dipstick, and just for grins and giggles, I cut the twisted end off it to see if that helped at all. Slap the sucker back on here and try it again, I guess. Okay, I just put a couple of bolts in the pan. It won't go in once the pan's on. The angle, it must be fighting it. This is the Magnum one with the edge trimmed, and it won't go in it. Come on, this is ridiculous. I might have to clean up the original pan and use the original pan. This is I can't get, it won't go. It won't bend around that corner. Okay, so I bolted the original Magnum pan on here, and this is the LA stick. Goes in there, whoop, goes right down into the pan, no problem. So, I mean, obviously, like I showed you just a second ago, this twisted end won't even go in all the way in. Even if I could get it to go around the bend, it won't go into the aftermarket pan. So, fortunately, I had ordered a pan just because I couldn't remember how rusty this pan was, so I ordered one. Fortunately, this pan is only got a few little rust blisters on it. I'm going to clean this pan up and clean it inside and out, hit this with a little flat wheel, clean all these little rust spots up, and I'm going to have to put this pan on. It's the only way I can get the dipstick to go in it. I mean, that it's real close to that, but like I said, this won't go down around the bend. I could cut the end off, but it won't, either of them won't go around, and I don't want to put the whole thing in the truck, trying to jam it in, get it in the truck, and then find I can't get the dipstick in it. That's not going to help me, so I'm going to have to use this original oil pan, just clean it up and paint it. One thing I can show you is I bought a new damper for the, specifically for the Magnum engine from prwsa.com. This is a performance damper that has the balance for the Magnum engine, which is different than the LA engine. It's externally balanced. You see an externally balanced weight in here. And this allows me to use the bolt-on style V-belt system. The earlier Magnums had a bolt-on damper, but the later one, like I got, doesn't, so I had to buy this damper. And this kit comes with different weights. If you can see here, there's multiple weights for whatever you're doing. Actually, it's 93 to like 2000. That's the Magnum 360 cubic inch cast crank. So I need the 1013 weight on here, which I believe is the weight that they put on it, because that's what I ordered, yeah. 293, 1013. So this is the correct external weight for this engine. You can see here, 71 to 92 360, the older style LA 360. It had the 1012 weight, which is a lot bigger for the old external balance. It's got really nice, it's got timing marks on it here. You can see that. 0 up to 60 degrees. So this is a really nice unit here. Okay, failure number 2 here. This isn't the damper's fault. The aftermarket timing cover, made in China. The timing tab that they cast into it sticks out quite a ways, and as you can see, it is about ready to hit the damper. I'm drawing it in with a bolt. It's got a little ways to go, probably a little bit more than that, to bottom out on the crank snout in there, and it's going to hit, the damper is going to hit here. So now I got to pull the damper off of my puller, take the grinder, flap wheel the front of this down a little bit, and then slide it back up on there. It's probably real close to being engaged right now, but it's definitely going to hit. It's only within a few thousandths now. It's definitely going to hit that. So that's two things. Aftermarket oil pan and aftermarket timing cover both have boned me here. So yeah. So I'm not making a lot of progress. So I got to pull that off, grind it. Some days you just can't win. Okay, I did some grinding. You can see we got a little bit of a gap in there now, about an 1/8 inch of gap. I can still see my timing numbers on there, timing marks, so that's good. There's 0. So that worked out good. I've got the damper. I've got the damper torqued down to 150 foot-pounds. That's what the spec calls for. You can see I just set the new oil pan on there, which doesn't fit. Just set it on there now to keep the engine clean. I've got to go ahead now and clean up that old oil pan, get some primer on it and stuff. I've got a lot of cleanup to do on that, and it's going to take a little while to get it on there and get it painted. So we're at a little bit of a standstill now. I'll probably finish doing that, clean it up over the night, and then I'll work on this tomorrow. Okay, it's the next night. I've got the original oil pan painted here. You can see there's a little bit of evidence of the pits in the paint, but that's fine. So I just bolted it back on, and I just painted the pan bolts again to paint that on. So that's all good to go. And as soon as I can flip it over. I also went to the hardware store and I bought a bunch of stainless steel bolts to put the intake manifold on and the headers on there. So we'll take a look at that in a second. But before we do that, we got to change gears real fast. Look at this! Bam! It's not a mummy. It's the frame. It's back from the sandblaster. I'm pretty excited. It came out mint. Let's go ahead and unbag it here. I had it in a tarp because it's still winter, obviously, and frames will, anything at sandblast will rust right away really fast. So I couldn't take a chance of it getting wet. We'll take a look in the bin here. Is all the bracketry that's got blasted. These are spring hangers. You can see how pitted everything was. I'm going to have to weld on these some. But that's what it looks like. Sandblast, a nice white metal. And let's go ahead and unwrap this guy and check it out. It's upside down right now. But I've got some, where is it? Here. I wasn't prepared. Hold on. I got some stuff I want to put on it. This Fast Etch. This is a zinc phosphate coating from Eastwood right here. And what we'll do is brush this stuff on, and it makes like a white zinc phosphate coating that will prevent the frame from rusting. Because if I just left it here for a week or two in the freshly sandblasted metal, it would start to turn orange just from moisture in the air. So we're gonna brush the stuff on, let it sit for a little bit, and then wipe it off, and it'll dry to a soft phosphate coating, and then I can still weld and stuff on it, but it won't rust just from the moisture in the air. Here we go, it's on rack. It's like one of my big monster cars. Woo, look at that. Nice. Oh crap, it's on a cart here. I gotta get, hold on. I wasn't prepared, hold on a minute. I have to put this up on some jack stands. Nice. Look at that, there it is. They did a really good job blasting it. It was really heavily pitted in a lot of spots. I'm going to put the phosphate coating on it, and then I've got Eastwood Rust Encapsulator. I'm going to paint it all black with that after I get the rest of the repairs done. I've got to weld up a bunch of pits, do some grinding on it and stuff. But this is, if you remember what it looked like before, a rusty pile of crap, this is 1,000 times better than I could have made it with a grinder and a flap wheel and stuff like that. So it wasn't cheap. It was $500 to get it sandblasted, but it was well worth it. This will be a really good surface. They have paint here too. They got all that rust off there. We're back down to brand new metal. So this is what you got to do if you got a really rusted frame. It's worth the money to get it sandblasted. I'll give a shout out to the company that did it. If you're in Western New York in Rochester, it was Miller Sandblasting up at Old Kodak Park off Lexington Avenue. They did the blasting. They've got a really good setup inside, really professional setup, and give those guys a shout out for doing a good job on my Dodge frame here. So let's get out the Fast Etch. I got the tarp here. I might as well leave the tarp under it for now. Let's get out that Fast Etch and coat this thing down with that stuff so it doesn't flash rust anymore than it already wants to get to. Okay, I got the Fast Etch in a little bin here, and you put it on and make the surface damp with it. I just got a little cheap paintbrush, and I'm just gonna brush it on. You want the oops, try not to waste it, but you want it to cover the surface, make the surface damp. This will turn like a whitish covering, I should say, like a phosphate. I don't know how to describe it. I've used stuff like this before on sandblasting and stuff. It's what you want to do to protect the metal. You just put it on here and leave it damp, and then I'll take a rag and I'll wipe it in a little bit. But this will make a nice rust-proof coating. See, I got gloves on, I got some safety glasses on, so I don't get it in my eyeballs. That would be bad, but I'm just gonna get it on here and let it do its magic on the frame. Coat it up on here. Help protect this awesome bare metal. This is as good as you can get. Well, I guess you could have it dipped like a dipper, but this is about as good as you can get. This frame had some heavy rust on it. Yeah, there's some pits that showed up here and there, but it's going to be okay. We're going to get her. We're going to get her. So I'm just going to slap this on here. It's going to take a little bit to coat the whole frame, but I'll get it up on here. Get her all covered up and sealed up. Then I'll be able to do my metal work, finish welding my gussets and stuff I want to put on here, and get it all ready for paint, stuff like that. Okay, it's been it took quite a while to apply this. I took it and brushed it all on, and then I let it sit for about half an hour like the instructions said, and then I wiped it with a rag to get some of the heavy residue off it. and it's drying up now. You can see the phosphates. This frame was, you know, when the metal was fresh, it was like bright white, and now it's grayed out here. And when it dries all the way, it'll have this zinc and phosphate coating, and this will keep this thing protected for quite a while, so I can work on it and finish it. Then when I get this ready to paint, I'll take Scotch-Brite and I'll just lightly scuff this with Scotch-Brite, and then I'm going to brush on the Rust Encapsulator from Eastwood and paint it satin black with that, or matte black, I guess it should be. So it's drying off now. I just got like spots where I rubbed the heavy pits. It's got a little bit of residue in there, but it'll dry off. So it's nice and protected now. I probably don't have time to get back on the engine tonight, and I got to make this video or I'm going to run out of time for content. But the engine pretty much is good on the bottom. I got some bolts for the intake manifold, some stainless steel bolts, so I can bolt that on. And well, I'll show you that in the next time. We'll do that. Because I also want to show you the headers I got, different set of headers, and how I'm going to modify those to make the gasket surface a little bit better. So I guess we'll continue on in the engine, but now I can start focusing on putting the chassis back together. I'm going to do, like I said, there's some pits here and there. I want to weld up some pits. I want to reinforce it in the back where the rear spring hangers go, and then I'll paint it and bolt all the cross members back together, bolt spring hangers on it. We'll get the rear leaf springs and the front leaf springs hung in it. We'll start to mock up the rear end. Then I'll have to get the other truck up here and start disassembling that, because I need the front axle and the transmission and transfer case out of it to bolt to this engine. And we can set that in here, and then once it's a roller, I can roll it around and then I can set the cab on it and start to get the cab ready to paint. And then it's pretty much just reassembling the truck with on the new chassis and the donor cab, and switch everything else over and put it together. And then we'll put the dump box on and build the rear end of it. But we'll get the cab and chassis functional and working first, and then finish up on the box. So I'm super excited to have my chassis back. Thanks to Miller Welding, or Miller Sandblasting in Rochester, New York. Check them out. They're on the internet. They did a heck of a job blasting this rusty frame. It came out mint. I'm super happy. So yeah, we can continue on with our Dodge truck restoration project here. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again, Smurf hands, next time at the Quick Speed Shop. I'm a professional. Don't try this at home.